Hey everyone, it's Dave from Dave's Ohio Barbecue. Today we are going to be making leftover pulled pork nachos on the pellet smoker. Stick around. Well, it's football season here in Ohio, and my Cleveland Browns have made it into the playoffs for the first time in 17 or 18 years. I don't think I've lived here. Maybe I have. Maybe the last time they made it was like the second year I even lived in Cleveland. I don't know. But it has been a long time. My children have never seen the Browns in the playoff. My son's quite excited. So what I figured I'd do is every week that they continue on in the playoffs, I'm going to make some sort of tailgating Super Bowl kind of side dish. Last weekend I made some pulled pork on my pellet smoker, and I will put the recipe for that up here. It's my honey maple pulled pork. It's really good, but we had a ton of leftovers, and you know, after a while you start kind of not coming up with very creative ideas. You're just eating pulled pork on buns, and it gets a little boring. One of the things I love to do with pulled pork leftovers is I love to make nachos out of it. Now I'm going to show you kind of it's almost more like a nacho casserole. It's a little bit thicker than just a single layer of nachos. I don't put that many toppings on it. You can add and embellish this any way you want. I'm just going to show you the process that I use for getting this from the fridge into the pellet smoker and then into your mouth. So I'm cooking these today on my LG 900 pellet smoker. I've got it turned up to about 325 degrees. You could go, if you're doing a single layer of chips, you could probably go a little hotter than that because you really just want to melt the cheese and warm up the ingredients. Since I did multiple layers of chips, I kind of want to keep it more in that 300, 325 range, just so the cheese in the middle has time to bake and get bubbly. I don't want the outside to be cooked in the middle just to be, you know, shredded cheese that has no gooiness to it. So that's why I keep it at that lower level and I cook it a little bit longer. So first thing I need to do here is I like to warm up my pork butt a little bit because it's been sitting in the fridge. It's kind of hard to spread. You can see it kind of comes out in just giant chunks of pork instead of pieces. So I'm going to put a little bit in here, and I'm just going to chuck this. You can warm it up in the oven, but I'm going to chuck this into the pellet smoker because I have it already fired up, and why not heat it up that way? I like a lot of pulled pork on my nachos, by the way. Alright, that should be enough. Alright, well, first thing I need to do is I want to cut up an onion. I like these whole onions. This is a smaller, sweet onion, so it's not going to be that much. I like to keep the root end intact. Peel off, you know, any of the layers that are yucky. And then trim any pieces that you don't need. And then I just like to, this way the root will hold it together. You can also cut a little bit this way if you want, you know, a really nice dice. Okay. In addition to onion, I like a little bit of jalapeno in there. Now I've got just this jar of jalapenos, but I don't like them whole. I don't want to eat that much of a jalapeno at once. I'd rather dice them up a little bit. So I like to grab, you know, a decent amount out of the jar. It's completely up to you how much you put on this. If you want to put a ton, if you want to use different types of peppers, go for it. But I'm just going to kind of do a loose chop on this to get it not so big. That way I can spread them out thinner. My kids like a little bit of heat in their jalapenos, but you know, I'd probably double this if it was just me. All right. Put all that aside for right now. So I'm going to be making these nachos. I've got just a whole bag of yellow tortilla chips here. If you're looking for a low carb alternative to this, you can always use pork rinds instead of tortilla chips. But I'm in a chip mood, so I'm going to start by putting a base on here. Like I said, this is going to be more of a casserole than it is going to be just a layer of chips. All right. Got a couple types of cheese. I've got a Colby Jack mixture, some Monterey Jack, and some Colby cheese, which is really good. I'm going to put some of that down. And then I also have some sharp cheddar. You can add mozzarella to this. You can add just Monterey, whatever it is you got. But I'm going to put a decent amount of this on here. This is going to be that mid-level of cheese that's going to kind of, you know, melt in there and put it all on. This is a lot, but I'm actually going to save some of this and put some of that straight sharp cheddar, which is the other type of cheese I have. If you're familiar with these packages, you can see I was shopping at Aldi today. I love Aldi. Alright, let's see. I don't love Aldi when they make their cheese packages child-proof, though. Or, in my case, full-grown adult-proof. And then I'll put a little bit of sharp cheddar on there. Again, I'm really cheesing this up. I like my nachos to be super cheesy. Okay. So then to that, I'm going to take about half of the jalapeno, kind of sprinkle them around. Half of that onion. Make sure any big clumps are kind of broken up. Like so. And then I'm going to go check on my pulled pork inside of the smoker. So here's a little pro tip. Once you get that first layer of cheese down, you got two options. First option is just to keep piling everything on there and put it all at the smoker all at once. The problem with that is you can get the cheese can be a little insulated by the top layer of chips that we're going to put on, and it won't melt very well. You can take this right now and just kind of chuck it on the smoker for about 5-7 minutes just to kind of start that melting. Then when you put everything else on top, it'll all kind of be congealed. I'm in a rush today, so I'm just going to put it all in there together, and I'm going to end up cooking this at about 325 for 10 to 15 minutes. Now, when you do it this way, your top will get a little brown and a little extra crunchy, but I'm okay with that. If you want it to be more gooey and less crunchy, bake off the first layer of cheese for 5-7 minutes, then add everything else, the onions, the jalapeno peppers, the next layer of chips, and then more cheese and the pork, and then cook it again. But it's completely up to you. I'm in a rush. The game's about to start, so I'm doing it all at once. Oh yeah, it's starting to bubble a little bit. Getting some little brown tips on it. That should be good. So the pulled pork is all heated up here. And I'm just going to kind of dot the landscape here with it. I'm not going too heavy. You get it, just kind of spread it out. I'm only using about half of it on this layer. Like I said, this is going to be a thick corn chip nacho extravaganza here. Alright, that looks good. Like that. And then on top of that, I'm going to add another slightly thinner layer of corn chips. Now this is designed, guys and girls, to feed, a crowd. You can either just pick it up with tongs when you're done. You can have people just grab and go. You may notice that I'm not putting any salsa or anything on there. I'm just kind of doing the basics. Sour cream and salsa will be provided at the end for dipping or for putting on at your leisure. I don't like to bake my salsa, so I just kind of leave it that way. All right, now a little bit more of that cheese. Not as much as the middle layer, but a good deal. And then the rest of all the other goodies. We got jalapeno, and we got onion. And yes, you saw that correctly. My GoPro did just take a nosedive into the nachos. Lastly, I'm going to take the remainder of that pulled pork and really put it on there. I like the pulled pork on top only because If it gets a little char on it, that's really good. I don't care if it gets charred, it tastes great that way. And plus we already have a little bit of it in the middle, so I'm not too worried about people not getting a piece of it. Sorry, just gotta make sure I get all the four corners covered here. My smoker at 325, they took about 10 minutes to get to the point where I really liked them nice and melty and ready to go. And there you have it, leftover pulled pork nacho casserole. We'll just call them nachos. They're really good, feed a crowd. They stay warm for a while, so you can just kind of snack on them as you go. They've got a little bit of spice. Remember, like, add any sort of side you want to it. Salsa, queso dip if you want even more cheese. Ooh, sour cream would be good. Any of that. Just really great to feed a bunch of people getting together to watch a football game. So hopefully I will be back next week with some more Super Bowl football playoff appetizers for you guys if my Browns continue to play. But in the meantime, make sure you follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Dave's Ohio Barbecue. Make sure you subscribe to me on Facebook. I've got a Facebook page. Just look up Dave's Ohio Barbecue. And then also hit the subscription button down below and press the bell next to it. That way you get a notification anytime I make a new video. I've got new videos coming out all the time. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.